Hi, Ben Johnson here to record this week's High Tech Friday. This week we look at Alice Keeler's template tab, which I like to describe as Padlet on steroids, and I'll show you why. So let's go ahead and get started. First you need to find her blog, so I'll just type in Alice Keeler, and then I'm going to type in template tab into the search bar, and that should take us to Alice Keeler's blog. If you've not been there, check it out. It's pretty awesome. She wrote a very amazing script. It's called Copy a Template for Each Student, and it turns out to be, I think, Padlet on steroids, and I'll show you why in a second. Anyways, find that page, click on her template for each student, check out her blog while you're there. Scroll about halfway down the page, you can see what it does here. Basically, you make a template of the data you want your students to fill in. Put your students' names on the first worksheet, and then you'll hit this blue button that you'll see in a second, and it will magically make a worksheet for each student in your class, and it functions very much like Padlet, except every kid will have a worksheet now. Alright, so if you go to her blog and you find that page, you'll find alicekeeler.com/template tab. If you just want to go directly there, that is the address. And she doesn't want you to wreck her original, so you need to make a copy, and that will just put it into your Google Drive, assuming that you're logged into your Google Drive. And the very first thing that you'll want to do after it opens is rename it. And so in this case, I'm going to pretend like I'm a biology teacher and we're studying animal kingdoms, so I'm just going to call it Animal Database, and I want my class to research animals and make a database. Okay, so here is the template, and at this point you could copy and paste your students' names from your student information systems, which is usually pretty easy to download, or you can just go ahead and simply type them in here. Now, while it's common to have names here, you can also do maybe you could do mammals, reptiles, birds, insects. So you don't necessarily need to use student names, but that's a common way to use it. It'd be fine to do chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. Whatever names you want the new worksheets to be called down here is what you'll type into this first column, and you can have as many as you like, and in fact the more names or topics you have here, the more time this script will save you. Okay. You can't have two worksheets with the same name, so if you have two students that share the same name, you'll just need to put a last initial or something behind those. So that's first step, get those names in. Next you'll go to the template, and I'm going to pretend like I'm doing some research here, so I'm going to wrap the text and some things like that. So I'll click on this rectangle here to highlight the whole spreadsheet, and I'll go to Format, Text Wrapping, Wrap, and now I've just wrapped, so any typing my students do here is going to wrap around. While I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and make the columns wider and my rows wider, because I want to give my students space so they can type their research, because I want them to do some research. And so here I'll just type in the headings. So I'll do animal, facts, website, image. You could even do a drawing if you wanted to. Okay. I'll go ahead and format this to look exactly how I want it to look on each of the students' worksheets, and so spend some time getting that to look nice. And you might even go ahead and give each student a little sample of what you want to see here. For the website, students can just go to Insert Link, type the particular topic, and Google will return a few of the popular websites that go with that term. And then for an image, again, you'll just go to Insert Image, and so the students will end up doing the same thing, and they can search by image here, and again just search by the topic and find whatever they like. Now the images are going to come in a little too big, so students will need to spend just a minute getting those resized so that they'll fit into that box. And then the drawing, I've got some math teachers who are interested in having students insert drawings that they'll make with their tablets, and so that might be a nice feature to include also. So I'm not even going to, probably shouldn't even attempt to draw a horse here, but just for the fun of it, I'll draw my stick figure horse, and if you're, hopefully you're better at Google drawing than I am. Alright, so there's my terrible horse. But if you're a math teacher, you could see how students could draw the math problem on their tablet. Okay, so I set the template up, get it looking exactly what I want, and then here's where Alice's magic script comes in. If you go back to this roster tab, you just click on this nice convenient blue button that she programmed with a nice Google script, saving you a boatload of time. So go ahead and click on that. I have to authorize it and give it permission. And it's all above board, so you don't need to worry about any problems here. And what you're going to see happen now is Alice's script making a worksheet for each of the students in your class in a fraction of the time that it would take you to do that. And so there they are now, which is wonderful. Okay. I'd recommend, and Alice recommends, deleting that roster sheet afterwards, because students could accidentally click that again and duplicate all those tabs. So you want to go ahead and delete that roster tab. Now my students can't yet get to this even though I've got worksheets for them, so you can share it the old-fashioned way by hitting the share button and pasting their email addresses in, which would be fine. Or you can go to your Google Classroom, so go to classroom.google.com, sign into your Google Classroom and deploy that as an assignment, and just make sure that everybody in the class has permission to edit it. So I'll just go into a bogus class that I have here and make a new assignment, and I'll just call it Animal Database. Give it a due date if I'd like. Some instructions would be helpful, but in this case I'm just going to go ahead and click on my Google Drive here and search for the animal database that I just created, and there it is. Now I want to make sure that every student can edit that file, and then I simply assign it. So now my students go into my Google Classroom, they're able to click on that animal database, and because I said allow them to edit it, they can now find their worksheet, and they can now make their contribution. So they might delete my placeholder and type in their own information. So maybe in this case they're going to do lizard, facts, scales, cold-blooded, etc. And then the website here, they would just insert again a link and insert link and type in lizard, and hopefully it finds a suitable website. It's typically Wikipedia, which is actually a decent resource despite its bad reputation. Sometimes it's a great place for people to start. And then an image, they'll just insert an image, and again they would go to that search and just simply type in that topic that they've selected, and again they will have to resize that because it will probably come in much too large to fit inside of that box. And now if you wanted them to do a drawing, of course they could insert that too. So I want you to imagine this. Imagine that you've got 30 students in your class. You've assigned each student to go out and do research on five animals, and they've all printed that on their spreadsheet. You'll have now 5 times 30. You'll have a database of 150 different animals. One of the neat things about that is if you're going to use it for a jigsawing activity or something like that, the students now have accountability because they can see what their group is doing, and for that matter what the rest of the class is doing. The teacher, because it's been deployed this way, can provide the synchronous feedback that's so important to students. You don't, in other words, you don't have to wait for them to turn in this and a week later realize the students didn't understand something and they wasted an entire class doing the wrong thing. So as the teacher, you can monitor the spreadsheet and help make corrections as soon as you see mistakes. Students can insert comments and notes, which is a nice feature. If you go to Alice's website, she talks about a lot of ways that you can use her script. But again, I like to think of it as being a sort of a Padlet on steroids, and that's because each student has their very own Padlet. If you want it to look more like a Padlet, you could go ahead and turn off the grids, and now you've got basically a giant blank sheet of paper. So that is Alice Keeler's awesome template tab script that she wrote and was kind enough to share with all of us. Check it out for your next research project. I think you'll like it, and I think your students will like it also. So thanks for watching this week's High Tech Friday.